Welcome to Offset. Larry and the Big Man. Jay Caufield, two-time Stanley Cup champion and, of course, hockey analyst. And I'm Larry Richert, along with Dave Ricchini, who's our analytics mastermind and Nostradamus of sports. Fair?
Fair. I like it.
Fair? Yeah, I like it too. All right, we're going to start with a preview. Steelers with a big AFC win last week at home against the Bengals. Now the challenge in the NFC, the surging Chicago Bears. When's the last time we've said that?
Yeah, that has been a long time. And I think with everybody backing up in that division, we talked about Detroit before, we talked about the Packers, like overrated. They just don't seem to come to play, and it's opened the door for Chicago to climb right up. And to be honest, Caleb Williams, with his legs, with his arm, and a defense and a team that's kind of believing in him, they're going to be. You got to be prepared for that. You got a quarterback that can run and move. They got to be ready to go when they play him.
Yeah, first year for Caleb under Ben Johnson's offense.
Yeah.
You know, he's second year in the league, second different offense. But you look at the stats, they don't jump out at you. But the thing, when you watch the Bears games, they're never out of a game. You know, they won 7 out of the last 8, and their last 3 wins have all come on game-winning drives at the end of the game. They had a one against the Bengals a couple weeks ago when Chase Brown called out the defense, and the Giants last weekend and on Sunday they did it again against Minnesota. So just even when they seem like they're out of it, he steps up in the big moments.
You get protecting the ball is going to be huge for the game when they go to face them. Like any game especially, but they're taking advantage of those opportunities, short fields, everything like that. To me, again, the NFC North. I kind of ripped on Detroit and Green Bay more than Detroit, but they come to play, and they're going to play hard. And I think that's what their defense kind of feeds off of that. So you got to be ready to go. And health for the Steelers.
It's up for grabs, certainly, in their division, and it's been a long time. This team is hungry. The city of Chicago is just jonesing for a good team that they could support. They're going to make the playoffs, apparently, and it's been over 40 years since they won a championship, and it happened with a Pittsburgh guy, Mike Ditka, I might add. But meanwhile, they look like they're the real deal. So the Steelers have, their work cut out for them Sunday at 1 in Windy City.
Yeah, I think the elements too. We're going to see what the weather's going to be like, what that could be like on the weekend. Dave, honestly, I think if the Steelers got to be, I said opportunistic last week. They have to be the same way. They got to take advantage of a guy that's, again, starting to thrive under a new offense coordinator, new coaching staff. But I think they can do it. I think they're up for it this week.
Plus 16 turnover differential, best in the league, a league high 15 interceptions. So whoever's under center,
because you had a big game that you did it, but they're still that number. They need to be that way.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, when the Steelers do that. Let's go back to the Patriots game. Look how good they are at 9-2.
Still, nobody gave the Steelers enough credit when they had that win, right? We talked about that before every week.
Oh, they had turnovers, 5 turnovers. I'm like,
they created it.
Yeah, you shouldn't win if you're an NFL team with 5 turnovers. Well, they didn't win by enough, but they did win.
That's right.
They beat the Patriots. I think Mike Vrabel's got them going, and I think they got the same kind of feeling going on in Chicago. So. Let's talk about your predictions, gentlemen. We were all 3 right last week, picking the Steelers over the Bengals. How about this week with the Bears?
I'm going to go, again, health is an issue as we get into the weekend. We're still wondering how it's going to play itself out. But I think it's going to be, I'm going to go lower scoring on this one, right? So I'm going to go 17-13 Steelers. I went out on a limb. 17-13. They got to keep it rolling. They got to keep it. So 7. And I kind of like to go higher because I think the way it can play out. But I'm 17-13. Yeah, Steelers get the win.
Tough test for the defense because unlike this past week with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, they're not afraid to spread the ball around with Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, the running backs, DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monange, the rookie from Rutgers. They can run the ball too. So. Interesting to see how they try to attack that Steelers defense. I also think lower scoring, and I'm on board with you, Jay. I'm going to go 20-17 Pittsburgh.
20-17 Steelers. Dave Ricchini. You know, I seem like a homer because I pick the Steelers a lot, but
So does Jay.
and it's it's a will and desire.
It is. It
As
is.
a fan, obviously, for them to do well, you'd love to see them get in the playoffs and make some noise. However, this is a tough one because even when the Bears weren't playing that well, the Steelers have had trouble playing in Chicago over the years. I don't know why that is, but I'm going to take the Steelers, and I'm going to say 21-10.
Nice.
I'm going to rely on the Steelers defense, I think. But you don't know which team's going to show
Yeah.
up for the Steelers.
Yeah.
If the team on defense, they were opportunistic last week. Kyle Duggar's big pick six, and then you had Pierre scoop and score. Man, you could do that in the NFL. It's tough to beat a team.
I will say that over the weeks that we've looked at this schedule, and if you think that the Steelers are playing with the defense that they're, projected to have, it's not hard to go lean their way almost all the game, until you hit the real tough part of a schedule. Ravens, if you looked at the bounce of the schedule, what's ahead of them, I don't think we were wrong to pick Pittsburgh every week, Larry. Is more my point. We have the right to pick that. They were supposed to be a top defense, Aaron Rodgers, running game, everything. So I think we had enough information to say Steelers could win. Dave went against us a couple of times, but we understand.
What's funny is we did predictions for the season before, and you had some losses in there for the Steelers.
I did, but look, when I go through the schedule, you can pick which ones could be a loss, right?
Yeah.
Right, you're not going to run the table.
Dave's a big Seattle
Yes.
Seahawks fan, so he's a
little sour. He gets sour this week until Seattle gets on the right side again.
and they will.
They have the Titans.
They're a good.
Hopefully
football
they
team.
should.
Remember the Titans. No, I don't. That said, now last week we talked about the top 5 teams, your picks in the AFC, NFC.
Yeah.
Based on what transpired last weekend, has it changed? Dave.
For me, yes. I had KC at the top going into last week.
Changed for me too.
I have them dropped all the way down to 6th out of the top 5. Now they have a chance this week with Indianapolis to get right back in the mix. But again, I said on Tuesday, they're not passing the eye test right now.
So in the AFC,
I'm going to go New England first. The best record in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
AFC, the big win. I think it's still in front of them. Travion Henderson's the guy, though, still for me. When they draft him out of Ohio State, they're hoping he could be that home run hitter in the running game. He's been great these last 2 weeks with 3 touchdowns doing a passing game too. Different element he adds to the offense. I'm going to go New England 1, Baltimore 2. I 4 straight wins, 3rd straight on a row. Now they get some games at home. They have Jets, Bengals, and Steelers 3 straight at home. So again, a chance to keep going in the right direction for the Ravens. So I have them 2. Denver 3rd. They went up the rankings. I didn't have in the top 5 last week. Colts bye week 4th, and the Bills I have 5th. Again, the Josh Allen factor, 6 total touchdowns on Sunday.
all right. Before we go to the NFC, Jay.
Yeah,
NFC top 5.
Yeah, so I don't. Dave covered a lot of the topics, but I'm going New England number 1 as well. I'm having the Bills too because I still think they got that element with the guy that can do what he does because it's all so much up in the air. I put the Colts 3, Denver 4th, and KC 5th. I don't have Baltimore in it, and I don't have Baltimore because they barely beat Cleveland last week. Their wins you don't know what you're getting from that team either, right? You really don't. So I pushed them out, but I think in Denver, they've got a lot of late wins. They could have easily gone the other way, but they come to play in their young quarterback. I mean, to me, Bo Nix, they make it work. So for me, New England, the Bills 2nd, Colts 3rd, Denver, KC, and I have them Baltimore and Steelers would be 6 and 7. But there's my top 5.
All right. We all agree New England. They're
Yep.
surging. They look solid. So my second pick goes to the Colts, then the Broncos. I'm bumping out the Chiefs to the top 5. I'm moving the Bills up to 4th, and then put the Ravens in the conversation at number 5 because in spite of the fact they struggled, I got to say, the Browns' defense was pretty formidable, and it kept them in the game. If they had any modicum of an offense, they might have beat the Ravens, but the Ravens
All right, it's a good. I get it.
came back. All right, now let's talk about the NFC. Jay.
Yeah, I'll go. So I'm going to go Philly number 1. They just do enough, as Dave mentioned on our previous show. They do just enough to get a win. Their defense, their additions, Phillips, a number of things. They're aggressive. So I got Philly 1. I'm going with the Rams. Matthew Stafford and that Rams receiving core, and the way they run the ball, aggression. So I got Rams 2. I got Dave's Seattle team is 3 because I still think when they put all the pieces together, they become a real tough out, right? But it depends if they get a home game as you move forward. But I like Seattle. I'm still going to stay. I like Tampa Bay because I think they're like a ballsy team with Mayfield, what he does. And I think I'm going to go with the 49ers. 49ers are healthy, and they can be tough.
A shocking revelation.
I know. How about that? That really is. And they even had their have they even had their bye week? I don't even think they've had their bye week yet. So it's a long.
So no Lions. Lions are out here.
No, I pushed them out. I didn't like the way they looked at all in the past weekend. I know. I was for the Lions, but I think decision making is going to go again. There's a lot of things with it. Some of the decision making, not taking points when they kind of have. That's the way. And I love Dan Campbell as a coach, but when you don't take points in certain times in the game, it's going to bite you somewhere. And I didn't like the way Jared Goff looked last week, so I pushed them right out of my top 5.
Out.
They're out. They're out. Yes. Healthy 49 team 5th.
Week 14 bye week.
Yeah, is that unbelievable to me? You're giving them a bye in week 14. Does that seem wrong?
It's almost not fair.
It isn't right. I mean, I'm not sure whether I wouldn't want it too early, but I don't want it week 14. I think it's playing in. They're getting healthy, so get a bye week, but I think it's way too late in the season. It doesn't even make sense to me. So
Rams 1, Eagles 2 for me. I still think the Rams are the most well-rounded team.
Mm-hmm.
They can score. They can stop you. Eagles 2, I got the Seahawks 3. Lions, I still have them in the top 5 at 4. 5, it's still a tie between the Bucs and the Packers. I don't have the 49ers there yet. Again, the Packers defense can do it. I mean, they got a scare on Sunday with Jordan Love leaving the game. Malik Willis came in and scored for them, but the Bucs, I don't know if they.
Jacobs got hurt.
That's
tough. If he doesn't, well, we don't know. We don't know until the weekend whether if he's back in or whatever. But I get it. I can see any of the teams. Honestly, I can see any of the teams kind of rising up at a given time. But I think it's the desperate teams the ones that kind of come to me, and the veterans on all the teams. They all have a shot. It's all about your quarterback for Seattle.
I'm shocked that neither one of you mentioned the Bears. The Bears are on a surge until the Steelers beat them Sunday. But top 5 again?
Rams, Eagles, Seahawks, Lions, Bucs, Packers for 5th.
I like the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles have moved up. They're doing what you expect a team. It's hard, Jay, as you know, back-to-back championships.
Yep, it is.
Everybody's gunning for you every week. They're finding ways to win. Then I did move the Bears up. And so the Lions are still there with the Bucs. But I've flip-flopped them, so it's Bucs, Lions, Bears. Oh, my.
There you go.
You got that?
That's very clever, Larry.
All right, time
Very good.
for the big man blitz. What makes Jay Caufield sour?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. So number one, the again, I'm going to say the calls that ruin games and ruin wins, are deciding games. At the end of last Sunday night, in Detroit, Philly, a pass interference call or holding, I'm not sure whatever it was brutal. It literally ruined. Detroit wasn't good enough. They didn't deserve to win, but they had an opportunity to get the ball back, and they took it away. So that leads me to my next. So number one, bad calls, and it's across the league, right? I understand it's a fast game. I understand everything that goes with it, but you're literally you're deciding. The games are being decided. So that really bothers me a lot. That leads me to the thing about the idea that the NCAA, college football, and the NFL rules are different. Like 1 foot in college, you need 2 in the NFL. Why? Why not make it? If I'm drafting or I'm looking to scout somebody, I want to see guys in pro rules. What do they do? I think it should be the same, right? Now, the one thing in favor of the college side, the pass interference call, which leads me to talks about what I just mentioned. Giving a guy the distance on a pass interference call is flipping games, flipping fields. And all we do is complain about the refs. So why are we giving all the power to a ref that we sometimes don't think they do a good job? and giving him a pass interference call 50 yards down the field. At least college has a right, and they give him the yards, but it's still a first down. So I don't like that. I don't like that the rules are different. I've thought that a long time. Even when you fall on the ground in college, you're down. In pros, you're not down. Like we know Plexico Burress, remember, right? Got up and spiked the ball when he wasn't touched. So I think the rules from college football, big-time college football, should be the same as the NFL. They're my two things that do irk me. And every time I see somebody keep 1 foot in college, it should be 2. And I think how refs are calling the game.
Homogenize the rules in college football with the pros.
Yes, that's it. That's my two things that got to me over the weekend.
That is the
Last
big
week.
man blitz.
Yes.
For offset this week. That said, some of the refereeing has been atrocious, and in the NFL, they're using this replay assist, and I didn't hear it mentioned once, and I watched a bunch of games over past weekend, and the previous week seemed like I heard it at least once a quarter about replay assist said this or this, so
I don't understand why, like, one hand on a, I don't, if there's, and you got linesmen, you got ref, they're all over the field. Somebody's down the line watching that play against Detroit and Philly right there. I'm not sure what, there's a little hole, little of this. They're both hand fighting. It didn't warrant a flag to end the game.
Well, what they called just for roughing the passer varies so greatly. In that Cleveland Brown game, Shedeur Sanders, who had to come into the game, got hit on the head with a fist, enough that it knocked his helmet. That's supposed to be a penalty.
Yeah.
You hit a quarterback in the head, period.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't call it, which would have been a game changer. There were so many of those. And down
Aaron Rodgers got hit in the head, too.
1 yard line. So
there was I think it was the Bears game, they missed a face mask, like a blatant face. I think the replay assist, they have to expand on what they can and cannot look at, because
if you're going to do it, you want it to be right. That's the bottom line. You just want whatever it is being decided, you want it to be the right call for everybody involved. For the integrity of the game. All right, Penn's had a 3 out of 4 point road trip to Sweden. And
they certainly seem like they made the most. I mean, the first game they had it in full control. It wasn't a good game for them, but they did enough, and they had the lead, and they gave it away really late, and then lost in overtime. But then they came out in the second game in Sweden, and were outstanding in the first period and took the game right over right away. Right, 3 goals. I think the line. I think first of all they're 10-5-4 after 19 games. They don't play till tomorrow night. They have 2 home games to give them. At least the league gives them that. They had 4 days between games when they played in Sweden. Now they get another 4 days. They just flew back on Monday. Then they get all week to kind of recover and then get ready to play again on Friday and Saturday. But 10-5-4 through 19 games, 3rd in the Metro. Dan Muse and their coaching staff has done an outstanding job. And I think Andy Chiodo handles the goaltenders, has done an outstanding job.
What about the young goaltender?
To me, watching him last week, if you're the management or the organization, and you brought a guy and he's 21 years old, and you bring a guy in like that who looked under control, not phased, fundamentally sound, looked so under control, not flopping, not diving all over the place, and be at the level that he is. I think if you're a fan and if you're the organization, you're thrilled with what you just saw. It's going to make tough decisions. Now, it's 2 games he's played. But he's done that each step that he's made and been the same way. So you might have something you really, truly, and we'll know over years and what he does, but you've got your cornerstone to what you need, and you need goals. Just like a quarterback, you need a goaltender to be outstanding, and they really have it in this young Miroslav, who looked really good and really composed.
How about just getting a shutout, though? That is an NHL team he played.
And it was. And by the way, the team in front of him was great through the first 20 minutes, and they kept him. I think Nashville only had 2 shots on that. But the second and third periods, he made a save on Stamkos when he had to push from his left to his right, and Stamkos with a one-timer went back to his left. So he had to push across and then come back and make a save on a guy who's one of the best goal scorers and off the half wall, one of the best one-timers ever in the game. So big save. I thought that first one really had to get him feel the game, and he only got better. And only got better from there. Nashville was good.
I can do this. It's not too big for me.
Yeah, and he does it. It's exactly right. I don't think the moment was too much for him. So I think they really and Shelovs had a nice game again for himself opening night.
By the way, there were some cool moments in that little series. I sent you a video. I know you already had seen it where Sid exchanged sticks after many years with somebody who he really looked up to.
Yeah, Peter Forsberg. I think it's what do you want to say? It's
kind of the magic of the game.
Yeah,
It was a moment.
Yeah, like they both and to see what they do. It's the phenomenal player, or the greatest player. Two great players respecting each other and what they did and what Forsberg did, and then Crosby doing the same thing. Dave, and you've watched all the stuff when you were covering and working and doing the work that we did. I think seeing that pretty special, and I think Crosby even made a comment that I didn't do enough of this through his career. And now I think when it's elite respecting elite, and I think
The fans feel good to see that, though, Jay. Just saying as a fan, just left me feeling good, like it was a moment.
I agree.
There were a number of those when they were in Sweden, and I hope that helps promote the NHL and the game and the Swedish players that have influenced the game as well.
So true. That's a great way to sum it up and say that it was a great moment and a great way to finish it off that whole weekend. It was well done, and I think they had a great. At the same time, it was quote unquote business trip, but they got to do a lot while they were the days off and took advantage of it. And I'd never been to Sweden. I know there's a lot of things and traveled overseas. So they did have some time to do it. But then when it comes time to game time, I'm going to go back. The coaching staff, Dan Muse is doing he's got a handle on this team and the respect level. You had to earn the respect from training camp till now, and certainly he has done that. And I want to say quick, the moves that he made in the lineup changes. He moved Connor Dewar up with the Crosby line. Connor Dewar's been playing on the fourth line and doing a phenomenal job. Put him up with Crosby, right? Crosby and Rust. That's a big move. They also moved Hayes up with Malkin and Mantha. So another big line. And they brought in, little changes here on the blue line. But every little move he's making is, turning to gold kind of thing. Great job with it.
We'll see what happens tomorrow night.
I think it was important to get at least one win, too.
Yeah.
After
Bad news for Jay, though, about going overseas. You can't drive there. I'm sorry, Big Mac. Dave, any final thoughts?
No, it's just glad to see they got the win Sunday, because it would have been tough to, the way the schedule was, flying over there, going about 5 days without playing. If you get swept over there and then come back and don't play again till tomorrow, it would have been a tough one. So
totally agree with that.
They got 3 out of 4. Okay, you take that and move on.
And you come back, you're coming back, you're hopping on the plane in a much better, a 10-hour flight coming back, much happier. That way makes it go so much faster than if you're on the downside too.
When I was with the Steelers in Dublin, the wind made the trip home so much nicer.
There's nothing. I've always said, when you're on the losing side of things, and like even in the locker rooms that I've been in, whether it be football and or hockey, when you lose, there's no music. The music's off. Everybody's quiet, packing their bags and getting ready to go. When you win, it's like, woohoo, big party. You got it all going. That's right. So huge difference, and absolutely great for them.
All right.
Yep.
Dave Ricchini, thanks. Well, during offset, we have an opportunity, Jay, to welcome still another stunning guest.
We do.
Pompeani, the great Bob Pompeani is with us here on offset. Robert, look at you. That is a fancy quarter zip from Augusta. And I'm sure there's a logo under that with the shirt you're wearing beneath. And then you have your draft hat on. Is that right?
Yeah, this is going up big time next April. We got a little sample size of what that might be like with all the people plowing in here Saturday for the Pitt Notre Dame game. But I can't imagine how many people are going to be in Pittsburgh next April for this draft. It's going to be legendary.
It's the largest spectator event in the history of the region, Jay, but he's got more swag. Let me tell you, more people give Bob more stuff. So, Bob, we're going to give you an original Yinzer Dogs tumbler and hat just for appearing on the show. So
I love that. Yinzer Dogs are very good.
we got you covered.
So I'll take whatever you give me that way, yes.
All right, I notice, I follow your social media. You're very active, and I really, especially because I've been so immersed in football myself, you've been keeping me up to speed with what's going on with the Riverhounds. And how about Saturday night, Pittsburgh's Riverhounds are playing for the championship. And talk about your interest in that and the crowds we've seen. They've really done extremely well attracting new fans each and every year.
Yeah, Larry, I think it's one of those things that's been a long time in the making. They've been a perennial playoff team. 8 years in a row they've been in it, but they never got far enough along to be in this position. They once won what's called the Players' Shield a couple of years ago, which is the #1 seed in the conference, and they had everything go through Pittsburgh, and then they got upset by Detroit, which was an 8 seed. Well, this time around, they benefited from Detroit, which was an 8 seed. They beat #1 Louisville City, and so they got a home match here, and then they got another one as a result. So they've won 3 straight in the playoffs, and now they're going to the championship game at Saturday. And by the way, it's on KDK-TV at noon at Tulsa. And I just feel good for Tuffy Schallenberger. He's the owner. All the time, the sweat, the money he's put into this. He has big visions for that South Side complex, which is going to expand from what it is now from 5700. They had 67. The fire marshal could not have been pleased with that, by the way.
Don't tell
When you win.
Hey, Bob, we were lucky enough. We had Tuffy. I've known Tuffy a long time, and Larry and I have, and he'll be on our special guest on tomorrow before the game, and we were lucky enough to talk to him about one of the things that's the setting. Any of the stadiums in our city, we've been blessed with what it is, especially from Acrisure and PNC Park, but that site from that side of the river is a unique one as well, and really you have to cherish it when you're there.
Oh, without a doubt, Jay. I mean, this is looking straight into the city, and you have trains coming by on the left, onto the right, or honking when they go by. It's a Pittsburgh scene, is what it is. And on a beautiful night, there's not a better place to be. And with his plans to expand that place, I'm sure you're going to see concerts and other things heading over there. What a night to be out! You can have fireworks on the 4th of July. They pop up right to your left over there. You see them over the buildings. It's pretty cool. So, but more importantly, the investment he's made in this team. Not easy to do this. And anytime there's a championship team, we've been lucky to see so many. They're not just a big sports. I mean, Pitt volleyball's turned into just a factory over there, and their success. And so many others like it. And now this is just another one. So if they win a championship, that'll be something pretty special and something we haven't seen around here in a few years.
No.
Yeah, and Brian Hess from One Team Media has got some special plans that'll be revealed for that side of the river, including coming up for next year's draft and the 250th of the United States, which obviously is going to be a big deal everywhere, but special plans here in Pittsburgh. And again, Tuffy Schallenberger on Offset tomorrow in a special edition. And that said, we wish them all the luck in the world and hopefully to bring home a championship. Let's talk about your Pittsburgh Steelers. You're immersed every week. You tee up Coach on his Tuesday press conferences. You've got all your shows surrounding the games. This is a big game for the Steelers, and in Chicago, you're running into a team that's surging. So where do we start to dissect which Steelers team will show up?
Well, hopefully the one that's going to play good defense and run the ball better and more consistently, Larry. I want to hear from you, no matter if it's here or in Ireland. And that's another Pittsburgh Steeler first down. I love that. It resonated in Dublin. All the people I ran into over there said, "That's Larry Rich." I said, "Yes, it is. It's home cooking here." But anyway, the Chicago, it's real. They're 7-3. Ben Johnson's done a heck of a job. This is the first of 3 straight big games because it's at Chicago. They haven't won there since 1995. Buffalo comes to town, and you saw what Josh Allen did yesterday with 6 touchdowns, 3 by arm, 3 by leg. And then you have the Ravens, who've won 4 in a row, and they're getting hot at the right time. So this is a tough stretch for the Steelers, and you'd like to go into that Ravens game with with a lead over them. Tiebreakers become huge, but Chicago's not an easy place to play, and I think this is going to be a really difficult game, but hopefully they can go their way.
Bob, with the injury-wise, is going to be a big thing coming up into this weekend. Who do we have? Whether it be Rodgers, or is it going to be Rudolph? And we know where Rodgers, Green Bay Packers, always in the Bears against the Bears. That's a huge, and Rodgers loves to eat that up right there in Chicago. But depending on health, whoever's the starting quarterback, again, it's almost like they both. Mason Rudolph did such a good job last week stepping in, so you can feel comfortable that they're going to do things and maybe build around it. But you're kind of hoping they're a full, healthy team going in. And I understand the left wrist is a problem. At least it's not the throwing end.
Right. I mean, but still, when you're under center, James, you
Yep.
know, then
Yep.
you got to take the hand off. And we saw Will Howard injure himself under center with a finger injury that has lasted as long as it has. So it's good that he's finally back. But, I think it's a tough question that has to be answered this week by Mike Tomlin. If Aaron Rodgers is still not 100%, and he's looked shaky the last couple of games, just, with some happy feet in the pocket, feeling some pressure. What do they do there? Do they go to Mason Rudolph for a game and let him get 100% healthy or not? You know as well as anyone that Aaron Rodgers wants to play in that game. He, quote, owns Chicago. Those Bears fans know that. They probably don't want to see him. But if he's not 100%, I don't know if you can risk that. He could, further the injury by playing in that game. So as we sit here today, I'm thinking it's going to be Mason Rudolph, but I know Rodgers was brought here for games like this. And if he's ready to go, I suspect my gut would tell me Mike Tomlin would still go with him. But whoever it is, to me, should rely more on the run game, on a consistent basis. Because I think Jalen Warren when he's on his game, he's tough to bring down.
And you mentioned Will Howard. Fortuitous that he finally was brought out of injured reserve status and on the team. So he may end up being the backup. Is he caught up enough, do you think, if he was pressed into service? Of course, that's a stretch, but still, he's a rookie. But I think he has a big trajectory moving forward.
Well, I do, too. Just because it was a sixth-round pick, I think people tend to look at that, Larry, and say, well, he's a sixth-round pick. What's he going to do? But, it was just a case of, once the first level of quarterbacks went, there are other positions to be filled. I think this guy has shown a lot in college. It makes me think he could win in big games. What he did with Ohio State last year was very impressive. After a loss to Michigan, they rebounded and won the whole thing, and he was a big part of that. So I don't know if he's going to be ready for this, though. He hasn't really taken any meaningful snaps in practice, but he would be like sort of one heartbeat away if that scenario comes true. I just think Mason Rudolph feels very comfortable with being in Pittsburgh now, and I think we saw that yesterday. I saw in the preseason when he played very well. We saw in the last 3 games here a couple of years ago when he led the Steelers to a playoff opportunity. 3 straight wins, the last of which was in Seattle, where it's a tough place to play. And they got in and faced Buffalo. And even in that game, it was a loss. I thought there were good moments for him. So I think he's sort of turned into the quarterback maybe the Steelers had hoped for when they drafted him. So that makes me think that, if there's doubt about Rodgers, that he will get an opportunity. And I think they'll be fully confident that he can do well.
And Bob, we talked, and we've talked through the week regarding preparation and what it means as a backup quarterback. We saw the experiment, or not, I don't want to say experiment, in Cleveland with Sanders going in there, and there's a level of professionalism that needs to be handled. If you're you're the backup, you're the third string. The work that you have to put in might not be the same physical, getting reps with teams and working with the main receivers, but you need to prep yourself. And what we saw in Cleveland was a guy that wasn't prepped or didn't do his work and wasn't ready for big time. And what we see with Mason Rudolph, and I'm sure as any Steeler in that quarterback room will be ready to go. We didn't see that in Cleveland with Baltimore.
No, and he never got any snaps, Jay. He was, they had a million quarterbacks there, it seemed, and he was the last guy on the totem pole. I found it very interesting that even when he was drafted, the draft room looked like they were not all that enthralled. Sort of a master's laugh, a little smattering of applause by their coaches, as opposed to, oh, yeah, baby, we got the man we wanted. It wasn't that at all. They felt more about Dylan Gabriel than they did him, so. But his talent is there. It's just a matter of processing. It's tough to do. I think it's one of the hardest things to play quarterback in the NFL. We've seen a lot of guys who've tried and just didn't make it. But he's, depending on Gabriel's concussion status, he's probably going to be their guy next week. Although they're out of it for all intents and purposes. But they could play spoiler, and they play team stuff like they did Baltimore. And I fully expect, I'm sure you guys do too, that when they go to Cleveland, it won't be an easy game.
Yep.
We're with Bob Pompeani, and Bob, Mount Washington has taken on a new role, and that is, I'll tell you what, Darnell Washington was the electrifying force on offense. Of course, Kyle Duggar with the pick 6, but in the game last Sunday, him trucking 3 different Bengals electrified the team and the fan base too.
It was one of those iconic runs, Larry, that, remember Vance McDonald when he took Chris Conte, just smacked him down. That pretty much ended Conte's career on a big touchdown down in Tampa. This was, 3 guys, and it started with DJ Turner, or Taylor Brick, it goes to Gino Stone, who had no business being there. He made a business decision that he said, I am not standing in front of this. And then he goes over with DJ Turner and just runs him over. We counted 4 yards. He threw him backwards at the end of that run. So that's one of those iconic runs we'll remember for a long time. I would not put it ahead of, and we had this debate on the radio today, I would not put it ahead of Jerome Bettis with Urlacher in that game and what it signified to that team and what they used it to springboard into a Super Bowl run. So that takes on legendary status for me, while this one was just very entertaining. And I do expect more of that sort of stuff moving forward from him. I mean, Jay, you play football. Would you tackle him? You're big yourself. But if he came at you running full speed, what would you do?
No, I said you've got to catch him. It's going to occupy somebody different. They want to make sure they get up on him before he makes his turn with the ball, right, Bob?
Yeah.
You don't want him coming at you, 10, 15 yards downfield, and you're trying to make a tackle. No, the business decision line was one we really liked, because that certainly was what they did.
Yeah,
Tough one. So Bob, when you're looking at this team and we talk about the defense and things like that, opportunistic was the word that Larry and I used previously, and they need to be that way to really be successful. Whether you're not going to get pick sixes and you're not going to get fumble returns all the time, but you can create shorter fields, take the ball away. It's something that has to be, obviously they're trying, but it has to be in their game for them to really be, to rise to this different level.
no question. You can't rely on it. And when they don't get them, they haven't been very good, Jay, quite frankly. But there's going to come a time where you play good teams and they're not going to turn the ball over. And the Steelers are pretty good about protecting the ball as well. But can you, limit possession time and increase it on the offensive side? Because the Steelers have not been good this year in time of possession. And snaps, they have not outsnapped an opponent. And even yesterday, Cincinnati had more snaps than them. So I think you want to get back to that. And that's why I kind of emphasize the run game more. I want to see more of that, so they make it easier on your defense, so they don't have to be out there a whole bunch of the time. And when they are out there, the defense, 3 and out, is very helpful. You don't have to make the turnover, but what you have to do is force a punt. So all of that has to be better as they go down the stretch against the teams. It's going to be, quite frankly, better. They got Buffalo, they got Detroit, they got Baltimore twice. They got a tough schedule, like a lot of teams do. So defensively, just be better in first down, especially. If you allow big runs on first down or second and short, third and short, you're playing at a disadvantage. So they have the defense to do it. They just have to make it come into play a little bit more.
Yep.
Bob, we want to ask you about some other things too, but as we close out Steelers talk, how do you see this unfolding in Chicago Sunday at 1?
Well, I think it's going to be a tough test. If I had to pick a loss of the next 3 games, I'd actually pick this game. I think the Steelers are going to beat Buffalo at home. I just do. I think Buffalo is going by Josh Allen, and he's just so good. He rises everyone around him. He brings out the best in those players. But I think the Steelers will figure out a way to somehow win that game. That's what they do, Larry, right? You saw that in Dublin against Minnesota when you were there calling that game. Minnesota was a good team at that point. Still, many people thought they'd win their division. They shut them down. They take on the Colts when you didn't think they were able to slow that team down. They did. They rise up to those occasions. This week, however, I think it might be tough. So I'm going to think they're going to split the next 2, setting up a big matchup with the Ravens after those 2 games.
And Bob, I got one other question, just in the NFL and even what we see in college. This is like my own personal opinion on this. I really, the timings of guys going for 2 points or coaches going for 2-point conversions, the fourth down, like the other night, Sunday night's game, Detroit going for, fourth down 5 times, getting stopped all 5, giving up points. To me, I know it's analytics. I understand that. But sometimes the eye test for me, and even in college football, I use Pitt as an example. When Pitt went for 2 after the pick 6, I get it, 18 points or 17 points, whatever. I understand, but momentum gets lost so quick when you don't get it or whatever. It drives you crazy when you're watching it. And the thought process for me, I just don't follow it sometimes, Bob.
I don't either. I didn't yesterday, Jay. That's a great point. Cincinnati had just scored a touchdown to make it 7-6. They kicked the extra point to make it 7-7.
Yeah.
And so for whatever reason, they decide to take that point off the board and go for 2. Now, at that point, they had momentum on their side. The crowd was silent because they had just given up a big touchdown pass to T. Higgins. And then they decided to go for that, and everything changed. They now don't have the lead. You're going to be chasing that point the rest of the game, most likely.
Yep.
Doesn't make any sense to me. And Larry, we go back to the Minnesota game in Dublin. I thought they were in a position at the end of that game to kick a field goal. Instead, it looked like Aaron Rodgers talked Mike Tomlin into going for it on a 4th down, and they passed up an automatic 3 points, would have made it a 2-possession game at that time. So, I mean, you got to smart yourself, Jay. You're right with the analytics. I mean, there's a place for it, but you cannot wholly just look at that all the time and make that decision for you. Detroit is, quite frankly, Dan Campbell has really done a good job there, but he cost them, I think, a potential Super Bowl with being that aggressive on 4th down in that NFC Championship game a few years back.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing last night.
Yep.
Sooner or later, you just got to play smart football, and it doesn't rely on metrics.
All right, that said, disappointment for Pitt to lose to Notre Dame, but it was a non-conference game. What do you think of the odds that Pitt runs the table here with one road game at Georgia Tech and then closing out the regular seasons the following Saturday, sees in against Miami?
Two tough places, or Pittsburgh, or two tough teams, I should say. One there, one here. Larry, Georgia Tech I don't know what to think of them. I thought they should have lost this past weekend. They lost the week before that. They're not as good as you might have thought 2 weeks ago than they are now, and I don't know. It's going to be a tough game on the road. It's a difficult place. Mason Hydro had I think, an interesting lesson the other day. You can feel good about yourself. You go up with 5 in a row. Seems like it's just kind of routine to do it, but then you go up against a team with a talent divide that was significant. I think Notre Dame is really, really good. They could win the whole thing, but they have a freshman quarterback also who's going to go through some of this. It's a good lesson for Heincho as he goes into these next 2 games. But, I wish that week wouldn't have started with Pat Narduzzi saying what he did. I just thought that was the wrong way to kick off the week, just because it's Notre Dame. It doesn't matter in terms of the ACC, but it does matter in terms of optics. It does matter in the terms of national views. I would have played that game up as best I could have, just because it's Notre Dame. Anytime you have Notre Dame in your building, Tony Dorsett's there, Aaron Rodgers is there. You got a lot of people watching it. Pat McAfee, all the College game day. That was a big day. I would have pushed it harder, much harder than I think he did.
Yeah, and with the football side, I'm going to make a quick turn, and we're going to talk hockey really quick, Bob. With Pens, we know where they're at, right? 3rd in the Metro. They don't play until Friday night. Come back from a successful, you can say successful Sweden trip. But you got to hand it to, and I know, Bob, you cover all this stuff and talk about it all the time, and what I'm doing as well. But the coaching staff, Dan Muse, Andy Kyoto with the goaltenders, doing a phenomenal job too, bringing everything around. But to push all the right buttons and to earn the respect, through the first 20 games of this season, he has done that. And I think that's what's extremely hard as a new coach coming in with veteran leaders to get everybody to buy into what you're doing, and he's done an outstanding job of it.
No question about it, Jay. I mean, to sit here and think they're 10-5-4, and yes, to me, there are indications throughout the course of this season of how they are wired. When they played that game in Winnipeg, and they didn't look good at all in that game,
Yep.
The following game was at Toronto. I was worried they were going to come out and have a carryover effect. Instead, they came out and dominated, and really dominated a good offensive hockey team in Toronto. They blew a 3-0 lead. Yes, they got careless. Anytime you have Austin Matthews go down on a breakaway, that's not a good way to start a period. And he scores, and things change drastically. But the resiliency has been pretty good. I think Dan uses that a lot of success getting through the message, whatever that message is. Eric Karlsson's off to one of his better starts, 200 feet of hockey, maybe not the points, but he's doing a lot of things right. And I think this whole team believes that if they operate the way they do, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but he uses all 4 lines. He's not afraid to use guys who are younger. We see that with Kindel.
Yep.
I still don't know what's happening with Brunick. The fact that he's still there makes me think that they want him here, but he hasn't played in such a long time. I don't know where that sits, but he's not at all shy about using guys. And even minutes, you would know better than me, but what are the minute distributions of Letang and Karlsson and Crosby and Malkin? Maybe not as much as in previous years when they were on the ice all the time.
Yep.
So I think it's helped the veterans along the way, and their goaltending has been good all the way through. All 3 guys have been good. So it's a nice problem to have. And I think they're going to be, I was one of the few who said they'd be a playoff team. That was my prediction for the Penguins this year, because I thought these young guys would help the older guys. And I, talking to a number of people who just spoke the praises of Dan Hughes. So far, so good.
Yeah, and I think the changes too, like even you mentioned about the playing time being distributed equally or evenly, seeing the 4th line play over 10 minutes on given nights. I also thought the changes on the fly or in between, game, it's always a game, everything's a game of adjustments, right, Bob? And I think one thing
Yep.
that they did in Sweden from game 1 to the second game was moving a guy who's been on the fourth line. Connor Dewar's been really effective in a fourth line role. He gives them an opportunity with Crosby. And again, they were really good. So they just finding his way, also putting Hayes up with Malkin, a big body. They panned out. When your moves and you go out on a limb and give guys opportunities, they're rewarding him and he continues to reward the player.
No question. A guy like Brazeau, he's been out, but when he and Mantha came in and had a wonderful opportunity on that second line and were terrific there.
Yep.
They got their time. I think it was a good move. A move that maybe a lot of coaches wouldn't make when they put 18-year-old Ben Kindel on the first power play unit. Normally, you gotta like earn that spot. But you saw him an IQ, and I think playing with Crosby has made that IQ even bigger. The hockey knowledge that he has for a young kid, man, he knows how things are. It's not easy to play with those high leverage guys when you're 18 years old. But he's shown them something, and they're riding that. They're not afraid to do it. So power play is clicking at a level I thought, Jay, if they did it the last 2 years, they'd be in the playoffs.
Yeah,
But it
absolutely.
wasn't that way.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're doing much better in that regard. So I think that goes well for them.
Yep, absolutely does.
Popping ain't easy. You've proved that every day since I've known you for nearly 40 years. What do you got? More swag. Popping ain't easy.
Here we go, baby.
Hashtag. That's good.
That's awesome.
And by the way, congratulations to not only Bob Pompeani, but everybody at 93.7 The Fan for achieving the Marconi Award, which is the best station in America. And KDKA won it last year, AM, for News Talk. And you guys do a hell of a job every day. And, of course, all your work on KDK TV, the work you do for the Steelers, the work you do for charity, grandfather again with a new grandson. Other than that, you're doing nothing, Bob. I'm going to try to get you to come out of your shell.
Larry, I monitor my life's choices with your life's choices. I try to keep up with you. And, Jay, as you know, it's hard to do. At every event, I'm trying to keep up with this. And it's fun, though. You know, that's the one thing that keeps you going. As long as we've been doing this, I think engagement with people, having opportunities to have fun at what we do, man, it's not really a job, although we should tell bosses that. It is. It's hard work. It's like driven.
Yeah, we want to thank Michael Spacciapoli from Odyssey and 93.7 The Fan, KDK TV. And, Bob, you're the man. Appreciate your time,
Thanks,
brother.
Bob.
Thank you.
Glad to be on your podcast. I've been listening. It's a great podcast, and thank you for having me. I hope I contributed something anyway today.
Always, my man.
Thanks so much, Bob. Appreciate it.
Nobody like Bob Pompeani. I know you've been working with him for years, and you guys have a chance to talk. He's truly one of the good guys in town.
Yeah, we're really, again, very happy he was able to join you and I, Larry, and kind of helps make it perfect for us.
I'm a little envious. I want a hashtag pumping ain't easy, some kind of swag bag or something. But again, we want to thank One Team Media, Mark Connington, Ryan Jorgen, and Logan Douglas, and Brian Hess, the mastermind. And we mentioned Odyssey Pittsburgh, thanks to Michael Spacciapoli.
And also Rourke Automotive, their Rourke Advantage, lifetime state inspections, lifetime oil change, engine warranty, new building out in Canonsburg. Dave, we're thrilled you're a part of our team, if you will, and also Henderson Brothers, Tom Grillish, and he's joined on as well to be a title sponsor. So thank you very much, guys, and we certainly appreciate that. And I will say, Larry, Bob doesn't have the ability to have a injured dog tailgate package.
Now I got to send him some swag. Experience the power of partnership with Henderson Brothers, and we do thank Tom Grealish, who's very, very philanthropic in his own right. That said, tomorrow, Offset, a special bonus with the owner of the Riverhounds in Tuffy Schallenberger.
Can't wait.
All right, that's a wrap.